Well, hi there, and welcome to a Sit With Me podcast. My name is Celine, and I am your host. Welcome. Today, I am absolutely delighted because today is the first episode in the last 3 or 4 episodes that I'm recording on time, because the last 3 episodes were pre-recorded. I pre-recorded them in September, because between October 2nd and October 30th or 40th, I swiftly mentioned it on my TikTok, but between October 2nd and October 30th or 40th, I was in a 10 days meditation course, in a 10 days Vipassana course, a silent retreat, and it was the best experience of my entire freaking life. It was the most enlightening, transformative, beautiful experience that I've ever lived in my entire freaking life, and I would 100% recommend it to any freaking one. So let's kind of go back in time. Years ago, I heard about this technique that is called Vipassana. I don't know why I heard it. I probably saw it somewhere online, and it's basically a meditation technique that has been rediscovered by the Buddha, the Enlightened One, like 2,500 years ago, but it was not new. He kept saying, I did not discover anything new, you guys. I'm just bringing you back the knowledge that our ancestors on the Indian continent knew back in the days, right? So he kind of revived it, and the goal of the technique is to eradicate suffering. It was like, I'm gonna do my mission to look inwards and to explore explore human experience, so that we can all get rid of suffering and be happy ever after. So that was his life mission, and he became enlightened at 35 years old, and from 35 to I think 90 years old, something like that, he dedicated his life to spreading the teaching of Dhamma, which is the law of nature, and Vipassana, which is a technique, a meditation technique, a way of life to eradicate suffering. So I heard about that. I heard about not just the technique, but the course, the 10-day silent retreat, years ago, somewhere. I don't even remember. And I locked it in a part of my brain, because the 10-day silent retreat sounds to me like a dream. It was very interesting. So I locked it somewhere in the part of my brain. I'm like, you know what? One day I'm going to learn about it. I'm going to discover it. What the hell is Vipassana? Fast forward to a few months earlier, when I was in my German class, we had this thing where every morning, every day, not every morning, it was not the morning, but at the beginning of every course, the teacher would ask us what's new, of course in German, but that's how we would start the day, being like, tell me news in your life, right? And one of my classmate was like, oh, well, this morning I meditated. I woke up very early because I meditated for an hour, blah, 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 blah. And at that point, as I've mentioned already in the podcast, I was doing mindfulness meditation. It's been years that the only type of meditation that I did was mindfulness, where you close your eyes and you observe your thoughts and you observe your breathing for 15, 20, 30 minutes. And I would do that every single day. It's been years. That was my meditation technique. So at the end of that class, I went and see him, and I was like, hey, how are you? What kind of meditation do you do? Because I'm actually very interested in meditation. And, I was like, let's chat, because he was we would talk also of other things, but at the end of the course, I was like, I'm going to ask him about what type of meditation is he doing. And he was like, I'm doing Vipassana. And I was like, oh, I know. I heard about that. I heard about Vipassana, right? And he was like, yeah, well, actually, there is a Vipassana center in Tribau, which is 3-4 hours away from Berlin, south of Berlin. There are Vipassana centers all around the globe, and he did his 10 course in Italy. His first 10 course was in Italy, and immediately I was like, I'm doing it. I am doing it. I am doing the 10-day course of Vipassana, whatever it was. That very second, when he told me that it was 3 hours away from Berlin, I was like, we're doing that. Fast forward to July, and so I went on the website. You can go on the website and see when will they have when is the next course, and there are courses all throughout the years. Wherever you are in the world, I'm pretty sure that in your country, or not that far from your, from your place, there is a Vipassana center where you can stay 10 days minimum to learn the technique and to learn the Vipassana technique. So I went online, and it was at the beginning of the year, like it was a while ago, right? And I saw that there was this course in October, and the registration for the October course was in July. So it takes a while because a lot of people want to, learn the technique, and it gets full. Like a class can get full very quickly. So I had to register in July, and you have to answer like a bunch of questions, a bunch of formula, whatever, a formulas, questions, questionnaire, blah, 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 blah. So I registered in July, I think the same month. Yeah, they answered me and they were like, okay, yeah, you have your place. Come in October, blah, 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 blah. So fast forward to October, I finally got to do the 10-day course, the 10-day Vipassana course, where you learn not just the teachings of the Buddha, but the Vipassana technique. And it is the teaching of the Buddha that has been rediscovered by another spiritual teacher who is called Goenka, Goenka. Everything will be like in the description, and everything will be on the screen if you're watching the episode. But it was the most beautiful thing I have done in my entire life. It's hard for me to say that I'm proud of myself or anything. I have a hard time saying, oh, I'm proud of myself for doing da. Even though I guess I can say that for other things that I've done, but it's hard for me to say that I'm proud of myself. But this time, I am extremely proud of myself, and I need to remember that for if the dark days will come, are coming back in the future, I need to remember that time that I was extremely, extremely proud of myself for partaking into such a beautiful experience. It is the most beautiful, enlightened things that I have done in my entire life, and I would recommend that to anyone. If you are even remotely curious, go and do it. Go and learn about the Vipassana technique. I have done very little research about that. The only thing that I've done, once my classmate told me about Vipassana, I went on the website and I realized that there was a course in October and that you needed to register in July. I put in my calendar, I think it was the registration was like July 5th or July 8th, something like that. I put it in my calendar, and between that time I haven't done no research or risk. I barely knew what was about to happen within the 10 days. And I actually recommend you to do that. Because the technique is free. The teachings of Goenka and the teaching of Dhamma are free. You can learn that anywhere on YouTube. It's free. There's a bunch of books that are free. You can download them in PDF. But I did very little research. I was just like, I know it's going to be good. I'm going to discover it. I know that it's 10 days. I can do it. So I went kind of like blindly, and I would actually recommend you to do that. The only research that I would recommend you to do is only when it comes to like packing what to bring with you. There are certain things that might be useful. So how it works, you spend 10 days in silence. You don't talk to no one. You don't have your phone. You don't have your laptop. You don't write. You don't read. You don't make eye contact. You don't gesture to people. You don't communicate through gesture or whatever. You just get up at 4 a.m. Your first meditation is at 4:30, and your last meditation is around between 8 or 9. And then at 9:30, you go to bed, and you do the same thing for 10 days. And it is something that is hard to explain because it's very much something that you experience within yourself. The experience is so unique and so individual because it's all about observing yourself. It's all about going inward. It's all about experiencing your reality that is hard to explain. I cannot really tell you what I went through. I can tell you that I cried a lot. I can tell you that I had a lot of what they call storms, which is you have all those emotions that are coming up and you can't stop them. You just start crying uncontrollably. I can tell you that I cried, but I cannot really explain to you like what it is that I went through. I can just tell you what I've done. I woke up early, I meditated for 10 hours a day, and then I went to bed. And of course, you have a teacher. The genders are segregated. So there's the woman on one side and the men on another side. And there's a teacher for the woman and the teacher for the men, of course, men and women, right? And of course, like, you're learning a technique. So if you have questions, you can ask them. And every single night, you are listening to approximately, I think it's an hour-long teaching, an hour-long discourse of Goenka, who is explaining to you what you did that day and what is the teaching of Dhamma. Like, he's kind of explaining the science behind the technique, and you practice it every single day. And it is probably the most challenging thing that you will do. Yes, building a house with your bare hands in the Sahara, in the heat, that's hard work. But sitting down for 10 hours, maybe not 10 hours straight, you do 1 hour and then you can take a break and then you come back and then you have lunch, like, you can still get up. But still, at the end of the day, you meditate for 10 hours. To sit down with your eyes closed for 10 hours is probably one of the most challenging things you can do. And I know that for some people it's scary to hear that you're silent. You don't talk to anyone. You don't look at anyone. You don't have your phone. You don't have a laptop. You're completely disconnected from the world, from people around you. You don't make eye contact. Like, you stay in your bubble and you meditate and you listen to the teachings and you go to bed. But you will be surprised how capable you are of doing something like that. We live in a very, very noisy world. So you think that you cannot do it. You think that you are incapable of staying silent for 10 days. I swear to you that you can. I swear that you can, right? And it is so necessary and so beautiful to have that space, to have the experience where it's just about yourself and you look inward. And the whole purpose of the technique is to eradicate suffering, like I told you, right? So it's about getting rid of all the suffering that you've experienced. So it's such a beautiful experience to have this space and this time, these 10 days, that is solely focusing on learning a technique that you can apply in your daily life to eradicate suffering and live a better life and be a better human being, because the technique kind of transcends religion. It's not about irregardless of what you believe in. You can be Christian, you can be Muslim, you can be Buddhist, you can be Jewish, whatever the case may be, and you can still practice Vipassana. You can still learn the teaching of the Dhamma, because it has nothing to do really with religion. It has everything to do with mindset and the human experience and getting rid of the suffering. It's about making you a better human being, making you a better person, and finding ways to live a better life, right? And that was so beautiful to me, because I grew up in the Caribbean. I grew up in a Christian household. The overwhelming majority of the Caribbean are Christian. We have every flavor of Christianism, every church, every groups, I don't know how you call them, that falls under the umbrella of Christianism. We have it. So I grew up on a very Christian soil, but it never resonated with me, nor Islam, nor Judaism. None of these organized religion, they never really resonated with me. But for the first time, with the Dhamma and with Vipassana and with whatever Goenka was talking about, it made sense and it resonated with me. For the first time, I found like a system of beliefs that made sense with my brain and with my perception of the world, and something that I can, quote unquote, take refuge in and use as I don't know how to explain it, but use as something to navigate this life, to use those beliefs, those sets of belief, that way of seeing life. I can use that to navigate this life, and it made sense to me. It makes sense it makes sense to my brain, right? And it was the first time that I encountered something like that with Dhamma, with the teaching of the Buddha, etc., etc. And that 10 days was the most beautiful thing on earth. And I want to do that every single year, at least once a year, where you completely disconnect and you kind of like refresh on the technique, right? Of course, you know, you get you have a room. Most of the time you share that room with other people, but some people you can have a room all by yourself. I think if you're an old student, or I don't know in which cases, but most of the time I think you will share the room with other people. But it's fine, because I mean, you don't talk, you just have a bed, and then you get up and you meditate. You have a room, they give you food, they give you everything that you need. Of course, there's course management. If you have any problem, you can talk to the management. You know, if you have a problem, if you have a question, whatever the case, maybe you can talk to certain people, but it's just you don't talk to the people that are in the course with you. I think when it comes to the women, we were around 50. There were 50 women, 50 men, I think, something like that. Over 50 women, over 50 men. And yeah, there's this meditation room where you go every single day, starting at 4:30 in the morning up until 9 p.m. in the night. And you have that, you have your meditation place. Everyone is assigned a seat. And you sit there the entire day and you meditate and you learn the technique. And they give you, of course, direction and indication on how to apply the technique. And I would recommend that to anyone. You would be surprised by how powerful you are, capable of achieving something like that. At first, it sounds very scary. And I'm telling you it was beautiful. At the end, at first, it was excruciating to sit down for an hour with your eyes closed, because right away, first day, you don't ease into it. First day, you meditate for 10 hours. You sit down at 4:30 and you start your first meditation of the day. Then you go to breakfast and then you meditate again, and then you go to lunch and then you meditate again, and then you have a snack and then you meditate again, and then you listen to the course. First, there's no easing into it. It's just first day, you start. And I remember for a fact that I think the first 1, 2, 3, 4 days, 5 days, maybe 6 days, possibly. What is time? I don't know. I could not, for the life of me, I could not stay sitting down for an hour with my eyes closed. I could not do it. I had to open my eyes. I had to move in some way. I had to change postures. My mind was going like 100,000 kilometers an hour. I was thinking about all the things. I was thinking about the outside world. It was a nightmare. I could not for the life of me. And here's something that you're not supposed to do, but I did it. Of course, you're not supposed to look at the time. You're supposed to sit there and they play. There's some chanting at the beginning and some chanting at the end. So you will know when it's been an hour, and they never miss a beat. They are very, on time. They will never forget. You will never do like an hour and 5 minutes. It's everything is timed. Don't worry about it. Have trust and have faith that if you're sitting there in an hour, you will hear the chanting and you will be able to get up, right? But me, being impatient, I was like, oh my God, I can do it. And where I was sitting in the back. Where I was sitting, I could see an alarm clock, which is the alarm clock of the men teacher, because the room is divided in two, and there's the men teacher who is facing the men, and there's the woman teacher who is facing the woman. At least in my center, in the center that I've been to, that's how it was. I'm not saying that every center is the same, but at least genders are segregated. And from where I was sitting, which is not good, don't do that. I'm telling you, do as I said, not as I do, but directly from where I was sitting, directly into my eye line, I could see the clock. And he has that big ass clock with big number, and I was not close to him. It was fairly far. There was 8 rows of people between him and me, plus more space, right? But I could see the clock. And because the light like the lighting is very dim, like you cannot see what's going on in front of you, like it's not bright. The curtains were closed, I think, but the light was like very, very low. I would open my eyes ever so slightly. Again, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to sit down and close your eyes and don't move, etc., etc. Even though they know that at first you cannot do it, and at first a lot of people are moving and a lot of people are opening their eyes. They are aware that some people are doing it, right? And I could see the clock, and I would open my eyes and being like, okay, how long? God, it's just been 5 minutes. Oh fuck, it's just been 20 minutes. Oh my god. It was so infuriating, and I was mad at myself, which then the teacher tells you need to also get rid of the anger that you have towards yourself. Like, there's no point in being mad at yourself for not sitting down for an hour. You just need to do the work and train yourself. That's part of the work. That's part of the training, right? And I was so infuriated at my own self for not being able to sit the fuck down for an hour. But after, I think, 7 days of excruciating pain, no, it's not excruciating pain. Like, you have good days and you have bad days. But I think the last 3 days and a half, I was able to do it. And it is those simple things give you so much pleasure. I was so proud of myself. I still remember the very first meditation that I did, where I got my eyes closed for an hour period, like a full hour, and I did not even realize that it has been an hour. And I was even surprised by the chanting, because like I told you, the hour ends with some chanting from a Goenka, and so that's how you know. Like, I think he does like a 3-5 minute chanting, and then it's like, okay, you can get up, you're done, right? And the first time in those 10 days, I think it was day 7 or day 8, I think, the first time that I was able to do that, I felt a sense of pride that I have not felt in years, probably in my entire, I don't remember being that proud and being that happy of myself. And so all of that to say that you will be surprised by how capable you are of sitting your ass down. At first it's going to be excruciating, but because you see the progression, I saw myself evolving day after days after days after days after days. At first you cannot bear sitting down for an hour, but then at the end it becomes almost enjoyable. It becomes almost enjoyable. You're happy, you're looking forward, your body is craving meditation. It takes a few days, it takes hours of work to get there, right? It takes a few days of 10 hours of meditation per day before you get to the enjoyable part. But you will be surprised by how powerful you are and how beautiful it is to actually go through a course like that. Something that I would recommend though, because they give you all like the meditation tools. I was not well versed in that, but you can have like a cushion, you can have a blanket. There's like meditation stools, all size and all kinds of like cushions, small cushions, big cushions, thick cushions, all sorts of things are available to you. I would say try different things, try different positions, because I tried the lotus position with your legs, crossed, the usual yoga. Like, if you think about meditation when your legs are crossed, it was not good for me whatsoever. Try different things, try different positions at first. Also, if you want to get into meditation, don't stick to the position that you see everyone else do. Just find what works for you. That's the whole point of the technique as well, is to find what works for you. If it resonates with you, then do that. If none of the teachings make sense to you, if you don't see any benefits as soon as you start applying the technique, then don't do it. Me, I started seeing benefits on day 2. Oh, I didn't tell you, I cried. I had a big total of 3.5 breakdown. Day 2, I was already crying, girl. Day 2, I was already uncontrollably, they call it a storm. Apparently, there's a name for it. On day 2 afternoon, I was already crying because I had all these things coming up. And I know for a fact, because I have experienced it myself, I know that it works for me. But they say, if the technique does not work for you, then don't. don't apply it. Don't do it. There's no point for you, right? Just look what works for you. And so when it comes to like the meditation accessory, find the position that works for you. I ended up using a meditation stool. If you type meditation stool, you'll know what it means, like a small tabouret. And you put your legs under the tabouret. I'm going to put it on the screen, or just Google it if you want to know what I mean. But that, for example, I think I used that, on day 4 or day 5. I spent hours in pain first before realizing, hey, I can actually try something else. Let me try this meditation stool that people are using and see if it works for me. And guess what? That works best for me. So all of that to say, always try to figure out what works for you. And it is the core also of the teachings. If the Dhamma, if Vipassana does not work for you, let it go. The whole teachings are free. The discourse of Goenka, you can find them online. I don't recommend to just listen to them like that. I recommend doing the technique and doing the 10 days course and listen to them in that settings. But I mean, if you are interested, go ahead. But all of that to tell you that the method is free and accessible to everyone. Even the center, in every center around the world, it is based on donation. You give what you can, you give if you can. At the end of the 10 days, you are invited. And honestly, I did not feel pressured to give money. You are invited to give either money or your time, because the entire center is ruled by volunteers. No one is paid to prepare the food, to clean. Of course, you are expected to clean after yourself, be a normal human being, but there are still people who are cleaning the common area. There are still people who are cooking the food for you and taking care of the garden, etc., etc. All of that is on a volunteering basis, and you give what you can. So there is no minimum amount that you must give in order to learn the technique. You come here, you commit to give 10 days of your life to that technique, and you commit to following the rules, to following the teachings, to following what the teachers are telling you to do. You commit for that for 10 days, and then you give what you want, you give what you can, right? So it is basically free. You're not obliged. You can just leave after 10 days. You can just leave and not give anything. I don't advise you to do that, but in theory, you could, right? And it is very important for the teachings, because it is not about making a profit. It is not about converting people to a new religion or to a new set of belief. It's about spreading that technique to eradicate suffering as much as they can. That's the core of the technique. That's the core of the teaching. That's the core of Dhamma. That's the core of the teachings of Buddha. And it was the most, so I ended up buying a meditation stool for myself. I have my little meditation stool. As soon as I opened my phone after the course, the first thing that I did was buying my meditation stool, because after the 10-day course, the only thing that they advise you to do is to meditate. The only thing that you have to do for that. There is no rituals, there is no prayers, there is no, book that you must read for sure. You can read about the technique if you are interested in it, but the only thing that you have to do is to meditate 2 hours a day. You meditate 1 hour in the morning, you meditate 1 hour in the night, in the evening, and then you go to bed. That's the only thing that you need to, and of course, you apply the technique while you are meditating, but that's the only thing you have to do. And so I truly decided to commit, and the first thing that I did, I bought my little meditation stool. I have my little meditation stool, and I'm committed to every single morning. I get up really early to meditate for an hour, and then I go to the gym, and then I live my little life, and then I come back home and I meditate in the evening. And it is the practice, right? It is the practice, but because the teachings are so beautiful, because they resonate with me, because they work for me, because I already see the benefits of the technique in my life, I know that it is something that can work for me. I know that it is something that can transform my life and inform my life and help me navigate this life in the best way possible. I already see that my mind is much more clear. I am reacting way less to triggers. I am way less, not angry, but I can be very like I can react to external things, right? And blame the external world or blame people for my reaction. Even that, I see that kind of reducing in my daily interaction, in things that used to trigger me before at home or in my relationship to certain people. Anyway, I'm not going to get into details, but I already see the change within myself. And so that's why I'm committed to doing that every single day. Is it easy? Absolutely not, girl. Do I want to stay in bed when my alarm ring at 5 in the freaking morning? Yes. Do I debate with myself? Do I have a whole conversation with myself like, girl, do you really want to get up right now and meditate for an hour? You can do it later. Absolutely. Do I go through a list of all the reasons why I want to stay in bed and I don't have to practice and maybe I can practice later? Absolutely. But do I still choose to get out of this bed and sit my ass on this meditation stool and I play Goenka, I play the chanting for an hour? Yes, because I am committed to that, because it was truly a transformative, beautiful experience. And if you are even remotely interested, even if when you hear about it just like that, if you're just not scared, if you are ever slightly interested, I strongly recommend you to look for a Vipassana center around your house, in your country. I think there's very, very few countries that do not have a Vipassana center. I advise you to give the website like a quick read to kind of see what it is about. And if you have the opportunity to go and take a 10-day course, because it's really life-changing. If you are a worker, you can, I know that some people, there are some companies, maybe it's just in Germany, I don't know, because Germany can be really like liberal and woo-woo like that. You can maybe ask your boss to give you like a 10 days, because it's not a holiday. It is not a holiday, right? You can maybe ask for like 10 days to just go and attend that meditation course. And also invite your boss to do it after you've done it. But if you have the privilege and the chance to do that, please, I would recommend you to do it. I cannot tell you what to do, but I want you to be happy. I want you to be okay. And this can maybe help a lot of people. I think that this technique can help a lot of people, and this is why it is so popular. This is what it is. This is why it has persevered after 2,000, almost 3,000 years. I think there's a reason why, right? And yeah, that was my 10-day Vipassana experience, and I am now fully committed to Dhamma, to the teaching of a Buddha. I am committed to doing that. There is definitely a before and an after. If you have any questions, please let me know. I don't know that I cover every single point in this little episode, but I really wanted to get it out of my chest and to talk to you about this beautiful experience that I've went through, and how 10 days can really, a technique and 10 days in meditation can really change your life. I thought I was meditating before. No, this little like 15 to 30 minutes that I was doing every day, that was nothing. Now I can tell you that I'm meditating. Now I can tell you that I feel the effect and the impact of meditation in my life, on my body, on my nervous system, etc. Now I can tell you that I am a meditator. All these years, I don't know what I was doing, baby girl. I don't know what that was. I was not a meditator. I was a faker. I was a scammer. Now I am a meditator. So yeah, that was my experience at the Vipassana Center. If you have any question, write me, sit with me podcast@gmail.com. I am back and better than ever. I cannot wait to read more about the technique. I cannot wait to learn more about the technique, to practice it, to share it with you, to share the teachings with you, and all my discoveries and all my wisdom, etc., etc., etc. I've been talking for a while now, girl. You know me. I wish you the best. I hope you're okay. I hope that your October was beautiful. It still is beautiful. Yeah, take care of yourself. Love yourself. You are the creator of your life. You are the creator of your happiness. You are the creator of your suffering. You can be happy for the rest of your life if you decide to. Love yourself so you can love the world. Get rid of the hatred, the anger, the pain that is within you. And take care of yourself. All right? I love you dearly. See you next week. Peace. Bye.